Toy Story 2. Hey Woody, ready to go to the cowboy camp? Andy cried, bursting into the bedroom. Woody was very excited about camp, though he couldn't show his feelings to Andy. Toys were supposed to stay motionless whenever people could see them. Andy grabbed Woody and Buzz for a quick adventure. Suddenly there was a loud rip. Woody's shoulder had ripped open. Sadly, Andy handed Woody to his mom, who placed the cowboy doll up on the high shelf in the room. Woody watched sadly as Andy left without him. What if Andy never played with him again? And Woody didn't feel any better when he found Wheezy, a toy penguin who'd been sitting broken on the shelf for months. Maybe that will be Woody's future too. Later that day, Andy's mom put on a garage sale. She came into Andy's room and chose Wheezy as one of the sale items. Thinking quickly, Woody waited until Andy's mom was out of sight, then whistled for Andy's puppy. Together, they sneaked outside, grabbed Wheezy, and headed back to safety. But because his arm was injured, Woody tumbled to the ground. Then, a strange man noticed Woody, picked him up, and stole him. From the upstairs window, the other toys watched in horror as the man threw Woody into the boot of his car. Buzz couldn't let Woody be taken away so easily, so he jumped out of the window and slid down the drain pipe. But Buzz was too late, the car sped away. The man took Woody to his apartment and locked him inside. Woody looked around for a way to escape. Pop! A packing box suddenly burst open, and Woody was knocked off his feet by a galloping toy horse. Yeehaw! It's really you! Shouted the cowgirl. The cowgirl said she was Jessie and the horse was Bullseye. Then she introduced the prospector, a toy who had never been out of his box. All of them were thrilled to see Woody. Jessie turned on the television and a program called Woody's Roundup came on. It starred Jesse, Stinky Pete, the prospector Bullseye, and Sheriff Woody. Woody couldn't believe it. He had once been a television star. The prospector explained that the Roundup toys had become valuable collectibles. The man who had taken Woody planned to sell them all as a set to a Japanese museum. Meanwhile, Buzz and the other toys had worked out that it was Al, the owner of Al's Toy Barn, that had taken Woody. They set out to rescue their friend. Together, with a little help from Slinky, they jumped off the roof. To Al's Toy Barn and beyond, Buzz cried. After a long walk, the toys finally reached Al's Toy Barn. They just needed to cross one last very busy road. Luckily, Buzz noticed a pile of orange traffic cones. He told everyone to grab one and then, slowly, they ventured across the street, hiding under the cones. Soon, the road was filled with skidding, honking, crashing cars, all trying to avoid the strange moving traffic cones. But the toys barely noticed they had arrived to Al's Toy Barn. Inside Al's Toy Barn, aisles of shiny new toys seemed to stretch into the distance. Everyone looked up in awe. How would they ever find Woody in here? Back at Al's apartment, an old man had arrived to give Woody a makeover. The man opened a wooden case with special trays and drawers full of toy parts and doll paint. He cleaned Woody's eyes and ears and repainted the top of the cowboy's head, where the paint had worn away. He even polished Woody's boots. Best of all, he saw the rip in Woody's arm. Once the toy cleaner had left, Woody told Jessie that he couldn't go to the museum because he had to get back to Andy. Jessie sadly explained that she had once had an owner, a wonderful little girl called Emily. But when Emily grew up, she abandoned Jessie. You never forget kids like Emily or Andy, said Jessie, but they forget you. Woody began to worry that Andy would forget about him one day too. Back to Al's Toy Barn, Buzz found an aisle full of brand new updated Buzz Lightyear toys. He reached out to touch one of the fancy new utility bags and suddenly a hand grabbed his wrist. It was a new Buzz Lightyear who believed he'd caught a rogue space ranger. New Buzz tied old Buzz into a box and ran to join Andy's toys, and not one of them realized that they left the real Buzz behind. Outside, new Buzz was excited about his new mission. He quickly led everyone into Al's apartment building through an air vent. No time to lose, he shouted. Then, because he thought he was a real space ranger, he tried to fly up to the top floor. Luckily, the lift came by just in time and carried everyone up instead. Peeking through the air vents, the toys finally reached Al's apartment. New Buzz rushed up to Bullseye and yelled, "We're here, Woody!" Andy's toys looked at the new Buzz suspiciously. Then Andy's real Buzz appeared, having escaped the toy shop and caught up with the others. The toys were confused. Finally, everyone worked out who was who. But that still left one problem. "Woody," said the real boss, "we need to leave now." But Woody didn't want to leave. The Roundup gang needed him to make a complete set for the museum. Besides, what if Andy didn't want Woody anymore? "You're a toy," Boss said. "Life only is worth living if you're being loved by a kid." "This is my only chance," Woody protested. Sadly, Boss led Andy's toys towards home. Soon, though, Woody realized that the boss was right. He did belong with Andy. He ran to the vent and called for his friends to return. Then he returned to the Roundup gang. "Come with me," he said. "Andy will play with all of us. I know it." Jesse and Bullseye were excited, but the prospector blocked their path. After a lifetime in his box, he was determined to go to the museum. Suddenly, Al returned. He packed the Roundup toys into a case and headed out of the door. Luckily, Buzz and the gang spotted Al leaving the building. They knew that Woody was inside his case and they had to help. They jumped into a nearby pizza truck and, with Buzz at the steering wheel, Slinky on the pedals, Rex as a navigator, and Ham working the gears, they followed Al's car all the way to the airport. The toys couldn't walk openly through the airport, but Buzz had spotted a pet carrier. They piled inside, sticking their legs through the bottom so they could walk. Moving as quickly as they dared, the group followed Al and his green case. Still in the pet carrier, Andy's toys climbed on the luggage conveyor belt. Buzz finally found Al's case, but when he opened it, pow! The prospector jumped out and punched Buzz. "Hey, no one does that to my friend!" Woody yelled, tackling the prospector. With his pickaxe, the prospector ripped open Woody's shoulder again. He was about to drag Woody back into the case, but Andy's toys arrived just in time to save him. Bullseye kicked free from Al's case as the conveyor belt carried them outside, but Jesse was still stuck. "Ride like the wind, Bullseye!" Woody yelled as he and Buzz jumped on Bullseye's back. They raced after the baggage truck. Woody finally scrambled onto the truck, but by then the green case was already being loaded into a plane. Woody hid inside another suitcase and was tossed onto the plane too. Woody quickly found the scared cowgirl. "Come on, Jess," he said. "It's time to take you home." But just then, the plane's doors closed. They were stuck inside. Desperate, they crawled through a hatch down to the plane's wheels. The plane was already speeding down the runway. Then Woody slipped. Jesse caught him just in time, but his arm was starting to rip even more. Twirling his pull string, Woody tried a daring trick. First, he lassoed a bolt on the wheels. Then he grabbed Jesse's hand and... Together, they swung towards the ground. As the two hurled down and under the plane, Woody's pull string unhooked from the bolt on the plane, throwing them right to Buzz, who was galloping along on Bullseye. Everyone was safe. Watching the plane take off into the sky, Woody, Jesse, Buzz, and Bullseye danced and cheered. "That was definitely Woody's finest hour," cried Jesse. When Andy arrived home from cowboy camp, he was surprised by what he found. "New toys!" he cried. "Thanks, Mom." Jesse and Bullseye had joined all his favorites welcoming him home. Andy couldn't wait to play with everyone right after he threw up Woody's shoulder. One day Andy will grow up and maybe he will stop playing with toys, but Woody and Buzz knew there was no place they'd rather be. Besides, they'd always have each other for infinity and beyond. The end. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this lovely story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.